Greetings, everyone. Jordan here, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Wheel podcast. Today, we have Alivia, one of our Gold Coast team managers and physiotherapist, on the podcast today. And we're going to be asking all sorts of fun, interesting questions about Olivia's background in terms of the world of physio, why she wanted to be a physio, and then her journey into community with us at GenPhysio and into a leadership position. So welcome to the podcast, Olivia.
Thank you. Nice to have me. I really appreciate being invited.
Great to have you on as well. And for a Friday afternoon, what a good way to finish off the week.
Absolutely.
And let's have a little bit of fun. So Olivia, physio. I'm a physio too, a few physios here at GenPhysio, although our OTs and speeches are certainly catching up here, and the landscape is forever changing in the world of community. But I want to, rather than a snapshot of where we are right now, let's rewind back to, say, your high school days, and tell me a little bit about what brought you or what interested you and attracted you into going down the road of studying to be a physiotherapist.
Yeah. Well, my journey is not exactly straightforward. I spent the majority of my high school career wanting to be a doctor. That was the whole, what I studied for. I did all
Not
the,
uncommon.
I did all the subjects for, back when it was OP. I overloaded and I did, all of the chemistry, biology, everything like that. And I got to the end of high school, I got the OP, I got the offer to go into medicine, and by the time that happened, I was so burnt out. The concept of spending another 7+ years studying was a nightmare. So I actually made the career change quite drastically, not completely, but I didn't get out of health, but I spent 2 years studying nursing instead. I knew I wanted to still be in the medical field, but a 4-year bachelor sounded much more appealing than 7 years of undergrad, med school, specialization, so on and so forth. But I got 2 years into that. That was up at University of Queensland, and the way that they structured the degree at UQ was you started learning on the job in day one. You were doing shifts to get experience, and you were taking your anatomy, physiology subjects on the side at the same time. But by the time second year rolled around, I was doing overnight shifts, and I was taking the train up to the Mater Hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was just becoming a bit untenable for me to continue doing that. So I thought, okay, maybe I can change down to studying at Griffith, because I was on the Gold Coast at the time. Because the degree structure was so different, I wouldn't have gotten most of my accreditations. I'd have to actually start from scratch to keep going with that. And at the same time all of this was happening, my grandmother actually ended up in hospital. She had suffered a stroke. She's okay now. This was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But all of this was happening, and I was visiting her in hospital, and the biggest impact I was seeing in terms of her recovery was the physio who came in every day, did the exercises with her. I would join her in the gym while she was doing her physical rehab. And it was just amazing to see how much of a profound impact it was having on my nan's recovery, and it was life-changing for her. And I thought, wow, this is something I could really do as a career. This is where I wanted to be. Ultimately, I wanted to be helping people. That's what attracted me to healthcare in the first place. And I was becoming a bit disillusioned with everything that was going on with my nursing degree. So I pivoted completely again, and I joined the bachelor's program for Griffith in its first year when they switched over from the master's program. So that led me to physio, and I fell absolutely in love with it and stuck with it, and then joined GenPhysio, and now I'm here.
Wow. Okay. That's a great story. We're learning something new.
Yeah.
Personally, myself, I did not know that about you, Olivia, and I'm sure some of our listeners didn't too. So, med interest, moving into nursing, Bachelor
Yep.
of RN, I presume.
Dual degree, Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Midwifery. I was doing both at the same
Wow.
time.
Yeah, not too many do those.
No.
So that's impressive. So you going through the dual and then having that sad incident with your grandma again. The strokes are probably sadly more common than we'd want them to
Yeah,
be,
they are,
um,
surprisingly.
and there's also obviously different severities and symptoms and a whole different range. And I couldn't personally take you through that since I haven't seen a client in 5 years myself personally. So we'll skip that part. But
No, that's okay.
stroke clients are certainly one of my favorites to work with because, as you said, the benefit that we physios provide, as well as other allied health, but particularly the rehabilitation, the physical and the mental component is pretty significant. And it's like we get to use our brains and our hands and our body to make a
Absolutely.
positive impact, which is really exciting. And the other positive part is the physios one of, if the profession that spends the most time with those intensive rehabilitation clients that have suffered, say, like a stroke. So you build that rapport, and that,
Definitely.
which I'm sure you would have seen with the physiotherapist working with your grandma in the hospital, that intensive rehab, and they'll build a very strong relationship over those weeks.
Absolutely. My nan actually still talks to the physio that helped
Wow.
rehabilitate her the most. So yeah, I
Okay.
think they were a student. She was up at the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital, and they've kept in touch, send each other Christmas cards. It's actually really nice.
That's yeah. So I guess goes to show you saw a really big impact, positive impact on your nan, someone close to you, and then that sparked physio is a choice for you. So
Definitely.
fantastic. And let's fast forward to finishing the bachelor's degree at Griffith, great uni. I was a Bondi, but
Yep.
I know Griffith has an awesome program. We have quite a few Griffith graduates here. Tell me a little bit about the job application phase, right? Because while community is certainly a massive growing, and I'd argue one of the biggest fields in allied health, particularly with the onset of NDIS and the rollout of that scheme from 2019, there are so many different environments that you could have potentially gone to, whether it was the hospital environment, there's private practice, there's residential aged care, which I won't put in the bucket as community. Sorry, guys,
It
for
is
the
different.
aged care guys. I love aged care and I started in that world, but we are different in community. We might be treating clients in the aged care facilities, but we're working for the client themselves and the family rather than the institution or organization that they're part of. But there's definitely a different array of environments that you could have joined. So what attracted you to community and ultimately us here at GenPhysio?
Yeah, so I actually was fortunate enough to get a community placement as part of my training in my last couple of years of uni. Prior to doing it, was actually one of my last placements. I think it was my second last out of six that we had to do. Prior to that, I had fallen in love with like neuro rehabilitation. I'd seen it with my nan. I actually experienced it. I got to be in the hospital doing that. But the main draw cards for me with that particular area was the fact that I saw them for a longer period of time than standard with most hospital rotations or even private practice. And that rapport building and the difference I saw, those were the key aspects that I loved. And then I did my community placement, and it was essentially that, but much longer term. You got to be in the client's home where they were comfortable. You got to see them, weeks at a time, up to years. I've got clients now I've had on my set since I started.
Wow. Okay.
But that kind of
Beautiful.
aspect was where I really wanted to be, and community just suited me really, really well. And as I was in my last placement was when job applications and things were coming up, and one of my colleagues who was really keen on joining the hospital system, actually said, "Hey, look, I've just interviewed with this company, which was GenPhysio, and
Yep.
they sound exactly like what you want." Because I'd been mentioning what I was sort of looking for in terms of a career, and
Yep.
they were like, "This is exactly what you want. I'm probably, even if I get offered, I'm still wanting the hospital system. You should interview with them." So I did, and it was actually my first job application.
Wow.
Yeah,
And 4 years later, look where you are now. Fantastic. Well,
not a
who's your
single
friend? We're going to
regret.
send them a gift card, hamper, Merry
Absolutely.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she didn't end up joining the company. You may not have remembered her. Her name was Ruby. She went off into the hospital system, but
Okay.
yeah,
Well, good friends look after each other, and she's certainly
absolutely.
done that. So, okay, I love that. And for the listeners that are tuning in for this pod, and if you're a grad or interested in community, exactly what Olivia took us through then is exactly what is our biggest attraction, and ultimately why I started Gen Physio over 10 years ago now is because of that desire to wanting to have a longer term connection with your client to be able to, I guess, see them recover, improve on their health journey. And whilst I loved the neuro aspects myself and the slow stream rehab and clients that were really needing and benefiting from that intensive physio early on space in the hospital environment, you could only get so much with your clients before they were discharged. And the
Yeah.
ultimate goal is to discharge the client in hospital, where I would say our ultimate goal is to continue to improve quality of life, independence, and living pain free. And whether
Yeah.
that means seeing the client on an ongoing basis for months, if not years, which is absolutely what many of our clinicians do. But it could be discharging or it could be slowing down the frequency, but the relationship is a lot longer going, and our objective isn't to ultimately discharge them as soon as possible, but to continue to uplift and improve their well-being. And I guess that's the powerful thing about community. You get to build those relationships. So that's really good that you had actually experience in community, because that's quite unique and rare. And I know we haven't done too much in the past, where we've got a plan to revamp that in 2026 and invite our leaders and clinicians to partake in that and give more exposure. I think it's just something that we should be doing, as giving back as a larger community allied health organisation, and exposing our young clinicians to a great world of community which they may not get exposed to with such, I guess, vast hospital placements that are going on and little
Yeah.
private practice. They should get a well-rounded, even private practice, where it's not us, but that is a great field in its own right. And you want to get that well-rounded experience so you can choose which career that you want to be part of. Hopefully, as long as you have been with us and many more years, rather than having to jump after a year or two, going not sure if that's right for me. So, taking you back to the placement, can you talk me a little bit and us a little bit more through your placement experience? Where was it? How did it go? What were you, if you can remember, what you were exposed to? And
Yeah, so it was the 5 weeks, which is pretty standard at Griffith. We were with a company called Allied Connect, so it was a little bit different from the way that we do or have done student placements before, where it's one clinician, one student. It was actually two students and the singular clinician. So we kind of split that clinician's workload in half. So it was probably not as intense as some of my other placements, and certainly not the same as what you would get as a student here with our company, with a bit more of a full-time workload. But it was quite similar to what we've seen in GenPhysio, but it did certainly have a lot more of the residential, as you've sort of alluded to, side of things as well. And back when I was still doing the placement, it was sort of like the ACFI kind of funding stream, where a lot of just the pain management programs, where you just went in and you had 20 minutes of massage for whoever wanted it, regardless of what their condition was. So that side of it
not all too
didn't,
old.
yeah, so that side wasn't overtly interesting to me. So I knew maybe residential in and of itself wasn't my cup of tea, but we still did certainly have a lot of NDIS clients, a lot of home care package clients that we saw. We did, wheelchair prescription and other things. So we kind of got that well-rounded side of community. And that just was everything that I wanted in a job.
Great. Fantastic. And we solely only offer home visits. So I'm really glad to hear that, that's a kind of match made in heaven. And that's what we're kind of wanting as well with any clinician that comes through, is really letting them know that this is what community is about, and making sure that we get a good match. And are these sort of your desires, or what are you wanting in your own career, and could this be something that would get you excited and want to be part of? So great. Okay, so you've got exposure, so you're one of the lucky few, and then here we are today. So bringing you through your journey, you've been a clinician physio on the GC now for close to 4 years, now in a leadership position. I want to ask a little bit more about some maybe stories in your time. And have you got maybe one standout moment, say with your client or a team member that you've been leading, that you were able to help and they got stuck, and you provided some support, and your physio or team manager and leadership capacity to get them through. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe one or two
Yeah, sure,
scenarios in that?
absolutely, no trouble. Well, one actually happened recently. I was actually resolving an issue for one of my clinicians today, and that's the thing that I tend to find in a management space is I'm trying to encourage my clinicians to be autonomous, but I'm also sort of the landing pad for if there's just something that they can't deal with themselves or they don't want to be creating conflict with their clients. I can be the bad guy on the back end who's delivering the bad news. But we had one of my clinicians today. She's recently come to capacity, so she's at a full-time load. She's going great, but one of her long-term clients who she's been seeing for a while, unfortunately, his NDIS funding just ran out, and we can't hold that spot indefinitely until his plan rolls over when we've got as many referrals coming in as we do.
Yes, we do.
So we couldn't hold the spot and we had to give it away and have new clients on her set, but now his funding has come back and he's quite upset that unfortunately we don't have his place at the moment and he's having to be popped on the wait list. And it was causing quite a bit of, not, I wouldn't say no one was aggressive, no one was upset, but just that friction and that conflict for clinicians that they don't necessarily want to have to deal with in order to keep, that rapport that we were talking about as well.
Of course.
You don't want to tarnish reputations and relationships because of bureaucratic stuff that happens with every business. So I was simply just the go-to. I talked to mum, I talked to the support coordinator, I talked to the client just to make sure that they knew, hey, we perfectly understand your frustrations. Unfortunately, we can't offer a spot that's not there. You're number one on the wait list as soon as something comes up, and everything was good. So
Yeah, good.
it's nice when things work out that way. And my clinician was just, oh, I'm so happy that I don't feel like my relationship with that client has been tarnished by something that I couldn't help, sort of thing.
And this is great. So leadership question and scenario, love it.
Yeah.
And this is so important because we feel that there is a strong clinical element and how we go about our day to day. But what you talked about just then was a really important element in terms of, I guess, navigating situations that are non-clinical. That how can we're navigating funding streams that forever changing, different
Yep.
again policies coming out, how and it's been the biggest change I've ever seen in both spaces, aged care, home care package, support home, and NDIS in probably the last 12 months.
It's been a busy
And
year.
it's been a busy year. Providing that on the ground support to your team member to, hey, I'm here to listen and to give them that confidence to talk them through what you did was the right move, and understanding that these different situations happen post when you make the right decision at the right time with the information that you had, that was the right move. But how can we then work with the clients? How can we work with the family members? How can I support you in moving forward? And I like how you said, autonomy is absolutely key, right? Because you want to build those skill sets and confidence within your team. But there is that time every now and then where you need to jump in and support and smooth in a managerial capacity. And I'm sure those clients will absolutely be waiting, if not for your team member, if there's an opening spot, or perhaps they would decide to go with somebody else here at GenPhysio and that's really critical. So the work on retention of our clients, or keeping them aligned and supported and aware of changes, that's fantastic. I love that. So, and today too, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was like, I have just the story.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, we know Physio on the Gold Coast is absolutely flying at the moment. I've only
Yeah.
got recent reports like a week. It's very good times here. We're getting record referrals every week and every month in the last few months. So something's going well. And I'd say team members like Alivia, so leading her team, providing this key support that's happening throughout. And obviously that feedback is going to our clients and referrers. So well done on that scenario. Have you got maybe a client scenario, a scenario that was quite confronting, or something you may not have expected? What's something that that jumped out at you going, wow, this is a situation I haven't seen yet, or a wild card on this?
I wouldn't say I've had too many wild cards per se, but I'll certainly say that
lucky.
Becoming a clinician yeah, I realise I'm quite fortunate. I've got a couple of team members who've called ambulances multiple times this year, and I'm like, oh, I'm thankful I haven't had to do that. But I would certainly say that there is a difference with what we studied versus what we do in clinical practice, because you learn by the book and you learn, this is how you're supposed to treat XYZ condition and for how long and how the body will respond and so on and so forth. And that is not the way that reality is at all, at least in my experience. I have tended to find that my approach to clinical practice is I understand how this condition is and I know what's supposed to happen, but I'm going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks and what works for a client. Here is not going to work for a client in 3 months' time, and so on and so forth. I would say with that, one of my clients in and of themselves, he's quite a character, I would say. He's had multiple strokes, multiple heart attacks, he's got emphysema, he's got so on and so forth. He's quite a complex client is what I would describe him as. And every time I go and see him, something new has happened. His arm's gone numb today, his leg's not working. He can't see out of one eye today. Yeah, exactly. Everything's new. And for him, it's mostly about managing that strategy that week, and what's going on with him currently, as well as taking into consideration how we're trying to keep him comfortable and keep him meeting his goals long term. It's adapting, making sure that, okay, well, what's new this week? What have we got to cope with? And that's something I certainly learnt as a clinician over time. It was definitely not something I felt confident in as a new grad. That imposter syndrome was very real. I sort of thought, oh, I'm supposed to know this, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. And I think as you get to be a competent clinician, you just know that that's what's supposed to happen. You're still flying by the seat of your pants, but you expect it.
Yeah, that's it. It's not as much of a hit to the system
Yes,
later
exactly.
on. Still
Yes.
comes, but you definitely know you're equipped to handle it a lot better,
Yeah.
perhaps.
You're better at adapting to it, that's for sure.
So I guess really a couple key points there is the variability and that you're going to have with your clients who have multiple comorbidities, different conditions that you're working to manage. You're looking at a physical but also behavioral and mental components that you need to be adaptable and you need to be
Absolutely.
working with what's in front of you and assessing that. I guess the second point is that the cookie cutter approach, and if you see X do Y, is not necessarily the best approach, and learning to actually really assess what's going on, not as a physical but mental function, and looking at the whole biopsychosocial model and being able to then provide treatment or recommendations based on where you're at right now and what's going on, rather than that's a certain issue in the shoulder, therefore I do this, where it's like, well, hang on, what have you been doing in the week leading up to it? Take me through it, how you're feeling right now, and then we'll go treat the shoulder. So yeah, I really like that. And I guess community is every day can be a surprise, or different,
Definitely.
or it could be the same. And sometimes you wish for those days. So the variability of I guess will keep you on your toes, keep you thinking, and the clients will absolutely love it and benefit from that way of being in the community, I guess.
Absolutely. I'm never bored, that's for sure.
Well, with a client caseload, with a team under you, and ever-changing landscapes with funding and all of that, yeah, sometimes bored would be nice. But
Yeah, take the quiet when it happens. That's for
exactly, I
sure.
think that's probably it. Bored, no, that doesn't sit well with me at all mentally. I'll end up, breaking something that shouldn't, doesn't need
Yeah,
it, but keep me busy, but with good things to work on. And there's certainly, that's what we have here, which is great. So just moving on, we've talked to two distinct aspects of your role and what could come across both in a leadership capacity and then as a clinical capacity. I guess when it comes to your putting your clinician hat on, putting your physio hat on, when it comes to your toolkit as a clinician, what would be perhaps something that you would use in your car, or a piece of equipment or a tool that you would use quite often out on the road? Or is there something that you would like to share with the audience that you found that was quite useful, or something that you
I
would?
have every single color of TheraBand. I can never
Wow.
underestimate the value of a TheraBand for exercises with clients. And they're not necessarily always used as sort of your resistance training and so on and so forth. Sometimes I give them a really stiff one so they can lift their foot up onto the bed or something. It's such a universal tool, and I really think for most clinicians, even if they sort of go, oh, most of my clients are manual therapy and I'm not necessarily doing exercise with them, you'll find you'll need it at some point, and it's probably worth having in your car. That's for sure.
So always have backup TheraBand. I
Yeah.
admittedly the yellow and maybe red was as far as I got with a lot of my clients. You must have a lot of strong clients on your set.
The stronger ones are usually not used for the actual purpose they
Resistance.
were intended for. It's just more of like a helpful tool that they can use for various things, that's for sure.
OTs listening. I've got some ideas here. Improve the ADLs, TheraBands. They are good. Great. Okay. Yeah, that's great insight. I like that. I've heard all sorts of pieces of equipment and tools that we use in the community, and TheraBand is such a key tool as a physio, and I presume EPs as well. But that's yeah, great. Rehab, strength and conditioning, ADL improvement. There you have it,
Absolutely.
audience. And all right, we might move on to the quick fire round before we finish it off. And these are all
No worries.
questions are related around being behind the wheel. All right, go to lunch out in the community. Do you
Every
prep? Do you
single
have a cafe?
Thursday, I get to go to GYG's because it's right between
Nice.
two of my clients, and that's my weekly treat to myself. But otherwise, I'm just bringing lunch, whatever was left over from dinner the night before.
Yeah, nice. Uh, reasonable option. That's good. Save a few dollars on the over stacking the dinner the night before on purpose, but the nice little treat to yourself. It's always good when you have clients at a nice spot, whether it's at the beach or for me
Yep.
it was Subway. I just loved it.
Yep.
It's not too bad on the hip pocket, healthy. I used to get the bread taken out and put more salads in. That's a
Yep.
trick. I worked at Subway for 4 years. For those listening, you can actually ask them to cut the bread out and
Oh,
make
I'm
it
learning something
actually
new.
more hollow, and then it costs no extra to add salads, so you can load it up as much as you want. They technically can't say no. So there's food for thought for your next Subway visit. All right, coffee order. What's your go-to coffee order? Do you go get coffees out on the road, or do you come prepared with, or you hit it before the gym in the morning? What's do you go to?
I actually don't drink coffee, but my go-to beverage order is an English breakfast tea with honey.
Nice.
That's the what
Love
we
tea.
always get whenever we're at our weekly MDT. That's my order while we're sitting at the cafe.
Perfect. Yeah, good tea. That helps. Although brave, no caffeine. I like that. I'd have to try that one day.
I
But
quit it halfway through uni. I just thought, oh, I'm having too many a day, so I
yeah,
decided to go cold turkey.
very brave. Great. Okay. A favorite playlist or podcast? Podcast.
I'm
Audiobook.
actually, yeah, well, I'm quite into audiobooks. I've got an Audible subscription. It's saved my life on
Awesome.
the long trips. But actually, I am listening to one of the true crime podcasts at the moment, which
Oh,
is
that's a good one. This Aussie
yeah,
one.
yeah. I think Case File is what it's
Yeah,
called.
I
Yeah,
used to listen to that. It's
yeah.
still going. I had to
It
listen for
is.
like 7 years and then it came back and I saw there was like hundreds there. There's
Yeah.
some really good ones. It goes
I'll
for a
s
good hour or hour and a half for
It
most of them.
does. I'll go on a stint for sort of 3 months and I'll go, okay, that's enough.
Yep.
I need to have my faith come back to humanity. So I'll listen to music or a book and then I'll go back to it.
It is one of those. I remember we got a contract down in Byron, and we were traveling to Byron, and this was probably, yeah, this was pre-COVID days. And in the interim, I was supporting that space. So every day, 4 days a week, we're heading down to Byron. And I remember it was an hour and a half drive there and hour and a half back, and Case Files was perfect.
Yep.
But you're right, after a few weeks, constantly every day, I had to like refresh,
Yeah, you have to
listen
take a
to,
break. You're
I
just
have to
sort of
take
like,
a
I'm
break.
getting depressed
Yeah, you
thinking
do.
about it.
Some but really good ones where they're hanging by the edge of your seat.
Yep.
But here's another tip as well, and I got this from a friend recently, and it was a game changer. Have you got Spotify Premium?
I do. Yes.
Did you know that audiobooks are free on the
Are
Spotify
they?
Premium? Yes. I
Okay.
cancelled my Audible subscription. I had it for years.
Brilliant. I will.
So double check that. It's not every book, but about 80% of all Audible books are on Spotify. You can
Okay.
only listen to about two or three a month before you hit your limits. but I have only had that problem once. So Spotify Premium will shoot
Okay,
the
yeah, might
audiobook section,
save me some money. That's good.
save
Thank
up your
you.
credits, or go to Cancel Audible. They'll give you 50% off for 3 months, or put it
Brilliant.
for
So I'm going
90
to save
days.
my money either way. Fantastic.
Got to do it online. They will not let you do it on the phone. You can't even do it online on the phone or the app. You have to do it on the desktop. So
Of
yeah, because
course.
I've had many issues with that. But anyway, hopefully you can get a few pointers from me and all the other community clinicians. And behind the wheel, there's some points to save on your hip pocket, but also,
Brilliant.
you know, take it as you want. So, is there a phrase you find yourself saying often when you're on the road?
I can't think of one. Someone will probably say something. My team will say, "Oh, Olivia says this all the time," but I'm not. If there is, I'm not aware of it. I try not to
No profanity
be
on the
too.
road.
Yeah, well, definitely not. I try to. I think I've sworn in front of a client one or two times in the entire career. For more, I'll say, "Oh, pardon my language," but because I'm offended on their behalf for X, Y, Z reason, and they're like, "I've never heard that from you before."
Well,
Um,
I'll take it as nothing stands out at this time.
No, well, I'm sure my team will say something.
And what about dream holiday destination? Is there a place? Sorry,
My
road
bucket
trip.
list
Road
or
trip.
road trip. Oh,
Yeah, it has to be
road trip.
dream road trip holiday destination.
Okay.
Scripting on there. I've got to get those questions.
No,
Read
fair
the
enough.
questions wrong.
That's okay. No, if I wanted to do anything, I would say I would love to do a full caravan tour of Australia.
Love it.
I have
Did
been
that
to every,
half. I've done half. When I was
yeah,
12 years old, my parents did, when we lived in Melbourne, went up
yep,
through Sydney, up to Townsville, crossed to Darwin, then down
yep.
Alice Springs Way, Adelaide.
Wow.
And we took at least 5 weeks off, I think, school.
Yep,
A couple of those was the school holidays, but missed a few weeks on top. There are some good and bad parts about it. Bad parts stuck in the car for that many hours at the back
of
seat with
course.
a Walkman that would always skip if you moved it, and Discman or
Yeah, you move the
Discman.
headphones wrong and lose
Moved
it.
the yeah, they had the So Fresh album of summer. You had the
Oh,
two disc, and you
yep.
got kind of sick of it after a while. But and then it was $30 to buy another CD, and
I know.
that was a lot of money back then. But
Absolutely.
there were some amazing experiences that we had that we still
Yeah.
carry today, 23
Beautiful.
years later. But
Yeah, I've been to every capital city, like flown to, but it hasn't felt like I've done much of Australia because I've kind of just gone from point A to point B. So I'd love to actually connect the dots.
nice, great. And to close us out for today, what would be one tip you would give someone starting in a team manager role at GenPhysio or any sort of leadership position in an allied health capacity?
I think the biggest thing I'd say is listen. Like if you come into the role with any sort of preconceived ideas of how it's actually going to work, you're probably going to be wrong and you're going to struggle. Found listening to fellow team managers and how they operate and how they work with their clinicians. Listening to my clinicians to say like what is it that you actually need from me? Because some of them want more hand holding, some of them are completely autonomous and they just want a soundboard to make sure that they're doing the right thing. Yeah, I would say that if you're open to listening to what people want from you and then listening to whether or not something that you did for them was effective and helpful, you'll have a far better time adapting to a leadership role than you would if you came in going, this is the way that it's going to be done. People are going to resist and they're going to get upset. And I think a manager is someone who just supports other people. It's not trying to dictate what they do.
Yeah, I love that. God gave us two ears and one mouth. And that's the ratio that you should be working towards when you're working with people and leading team members. So I love that. And leadership is a big passion of mine. It's